Let's try that again. All right, thank you for joining me. I'm First Alert meteorologist Jake Lambright. Mike is now finally on. It is a nice and quiet night across central Louisiana. Of course, a lot to talk about. We've got dense fog for some as you head out the door tomorrow morning, and also updates on our Weathermaker that arrives later this work week. And it's not all bad news. I promise, or trust me when I say that. We'll get to those details here in just a moment. Again, here's a live look right now, our southern air camera out from Pineville, or out in Pineville. You can see those clear skies. Now, they'll be clear for a little while, but there will be some cloud cover, and again, that fog developing as we get closer to your morning commute tomorrow morning. Right now, temperatures right at 67 there in Alexandria, Marksville, 70 in Gina and Jonesville, 64 both in Natchez and Opelousas. Now, over the next couple of hours, will be a pretty slow cool down from here. Morning lows tomorrow will reach the lower 60s for a lot of our area. And as you can see by those icons there, cloud cover does increase as we get into the late overnight hours and early morning tomorrow. I don't know what it is with Futurecast, this specific model with fog, but every single night about this time, that new update comes in and it seems to really back off on the dense fog. However, don't be too deceived there by what you see on the map. I do expect fog across good portion of our area tomorrow, and that will be dense in some locations. This particular Futurecast model has been doing this every day. We still end up seeing the fog right on cue with schedule. So I know it doesn't look as bad on here. You still might want to give yourself an extra 5 minutes as you head out the door tomorrow morning and take it a little bit slower on that morning drive. Now, let's get into the details about this next Weathermaker, because some things have changed, including the timing. Now we're looking at this being kind of a late Thursday overnight thing, kind of carrying over into Friday. Still a little too early to fine-tune that timeline down a little bit further, but again, looking at late in the night Thursday and carrying over into Friday. I've changed the rain from widespread to scattered. Rainfall totals are going to stay very manageable for us, and we might not all see rain with this first round of rain. Probably not the news that you wanted to hear, but I still think that a good chunk of our area will still see some measurable rainfall as we head into the end of this work week. Now, when it comes to severe weather, it's possible, but the chances at this point are very low. There are still some details that are uncertain, but it is becoming more and more clear that our severe weather threat shouldn't be anything super significant or super substantial. But again, the threat's there. I wouldn't be surprised to see portion of. Bear with me here for one moment. Actually go kind of on a statewide view, lacking a lot of other dynamics and components to our overall weather setup, and as a result, our severe weather threat will be staying low. Now, I do expect things to dry out by the time we get to the weekend, though. We'll kind of have a little bit of ridging going on here across a good portion of Texas and Louisiana. That's not exactly where that high pressure center is. I kind of drew it up a little bit higher so you could see it better on the screen. I'll clear that off, though. You can already see our next Weathermaker in view as we head into next week. In fact, I'll kind of drag this timeline out. You kind of see by the middle of next week. Can't use my pen tool here. Let me try this again. Technology is not on my side today. Here we go. So here's that low pressure center by the middle of next week. That could bring us more rain chances, especially by the middle to latter part of next week. So let's break down the next 7 days for you as far as rain chances go. So you can't see Thursday night. During the day, Thursday, I've got us at a 10% chance. Thursday night, different story. I have us at a 60% chance of rain, 70% for your Friday. Saturday and Sunday looking a lot better. In fact, I could see myself potentially lowering these rain chances even further by tomorrow's update to 10%, maybe 0%. Not really all that optimistic that we'll be seeing much in the way of rain over the weekend. Rain chances may gradually increase toward the beginning of next week, and then again, with that next Weathermaker set to arrive maybe toward the middle of next week, that's when rain chances will really start to go up once again. Now, let's focus on the next 7 days here. How much rain are we talking? Well, for us in central Louisiana, the rainfall totals are pretty manageable. Where they're not so manageable is to our northwest, across anywhere from basically the DFW metro to the Texoma region, so right along the Red River, the Texas-Oklahoma state line there where I circled. Those are spots that could see maybe 3 to 5 inches of rain with some locally higher amounts possible. So that there could lead to some localized flooding concerns. They're actually outlined in a local flood risk, but taking it back to Louisiana, we're generally looking at maybe 1 to 2 inches of rain on the higher end of things. South along I-10 and areas south, rainfall totals will be staying very, very minimal. You'll notice there that kind of light blue shading here extending from basically DeRidder to Oakdale to Marksville and areas to the northwest. I'll kind of draw some white lines there, the area that I'm talking about before I clear it. So where you see that light blue there on your screen, that's where we're looking at maybe 1 inch to 1.5 inches of rain. And based on what I'm seeing in the latest trends, I would not be surprised to continue bumping those rain chances down, where most of us could be looking at maybe 0.5 inch to 1 inch of rain. So bottom line, we're not really looking at any kind of a flooding threat. We need any kind of rain that we can get, though. Honestly, honestly, that 1 to 2 inches of rain would probably be perfect because we're still dealing with those drought conditions, and they continue to get worse week after week. In fact, I do want to show you the latest drought monitor for us here in central Louisiana, because now we've got level 2 out of 4 drought conditions in portions of our area. So looks like that ran away from me on my end. So give me just a second so I can pull that back up and zoom it in on our area. There we go. So again, part of